Run.
We're on. Well, once again, late night from Willowdale. We're talking to you on Sunday night of the long weekend here in Canada, the Victoria Day weekend. And yeah, I want to go through a lot of topics really quick. So let's start off with the latest shooting in Texas, the latest high school shooting in Texas. Nine school shootings in the U.S. this year. Many more mass shootings, but 9 school shootings this year alone. The one in Santa Fe, Texas, a suburban community between Galveston and Houston, was the latest. 10 dead, and I don't know how many people. I don't even.
Yeah, 10 people. 10 people
yeah,
died. Yeah.
It was 10. There we go. There's the headline. We've in previous YouTube videos we've shown you all the headlines going back to Sandy Hook. So there's the latest New York Times headline. And again, the New York Times has an editorial showing the congressional inaction on gun control. Okay, we don't have to belabor the gun issue in the U.S. Everybody knows it. But my friend Chris, who we like doing videos with, we couldn't get it together to do one this weekend, but we'll have Chris on in a later show. He said to me something really interesting on Friday night. He said to me, and I think we can say this on YouTube, it's been on CNN, what shithole of a country will allow kids and young people to be subject to violence and the threat of violence every day, as they are in American middle schools, elementary, middle schools, and high schools? What shithole of a country would allow this to happen? Only the United States allows this to happen, where you send your kids to school, but you don't know if they're coming back. So when Trump goes around the world calling countries in Africa and the Caribbean and Central America shitholes, the one big shithole of a country is the United States. What kind of a country allows this to consistently happen, where there's already been 9 major shootings at U.S. schools this year, and there have been a number of, I think there have been 22 other been many other mass shootings in other places. 9 major school shootings, and nothing is ever done. Gun control doesn't happen. And my buddy Chris said it right. What kind of a shithole of a country allows this to happen? It doesn't happen anywhere else in the Western world. It probably doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. The world's a pretty violent place. So, and I saw the Lieutenant Governor of Texas on CNN today, and he goes, "Oh no, we have to arm the teachers, and blah blah. This basically saying we need more violence. I swear to you, in the United States, this is like an episode of Hawaii Five-O, or NCIS. It's just violence, violence, violence." Their solutions to all their problems are more violence. And Chris is right. What shithole of a country will allow their kids to go to school every day not knowing they will come back alive because they have no gun control laws? It's a gun culture. And this is a real thing about the United States. This is a country that perpetuates violence overseas and perpetuates violence domestically. It's a pretty screwed up place. So if there's one shithole of a country, it's that one. And I think everyone who watches this video would agree. They got a serious problem. They don't want to do anything about it. In fact, they want to make it worse by arming teachers and arming more people. And Trump doesn't care. And so I'll leave it at that. And I think my buddy Chris said it all. What shithole of a country allows this to happen? And that's the United States. And so talking about where there's no hope, let's move on to another an American-inspired no hope, and that's what's going on in the Middle East. The Americans moved their embassy to Jerusalem against all sort of international norms and the international consensus, and violating all sorts of international agreements and UN security resolutions. And there was this massive violence in Gaza, 50, 60 dead. And again, there's no hope. For the Palestinians, there is no hope. And, what did the Palestinians get out of this? Nothing. They went to the fences, they protested, and the Israelis took them out. They killed a lot of people. The Israelis took them out because they could get away with it. They knew there'd be very little international protest. 10 years ago or so, that would have been a big story when 50, 60 people were killed. Israeli snipers just took out unarmed protesters, just took them out. And nobody cares. Because Israel knows they can get away with everything it wants these days. It's got Trump's backing. Trump doesn't care about the Palestinians. And if you got your major backer, the United States, saying you can do whatever the hell you want, they do. And the Europeans protested. Canada, to Trudeau's credit, he said some pretty strong stuff saying this was totally outrageous. But nobody, Israel only listens to one person, that's the United States. So they got the embassy in Jerusalem, which is, as I say, has violated all sorts of is violated the international consensus and all sorts of UN security resolutions. Israelis don't care. So for Palestinians, it's hopeless. And I worked on this issue for many years, and I still believe in it. I think the only solution is a one-state solution where Palestinians have full political rights within a larger Israel and Palestine. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Certainly not in my lifetime. But yeah, I'm sorry, Palestinians. It's over. Nobody cares. As someone said in the New York Times, it was a one-day. Yeah, where's the headline, please? There you go. Israelis kill scores in Gaza. There you go. That's a one-day headline. By the end of the week, everyone's concerned about the royal wedding. The royal wedding was more important than 60 Palestinians being killed. The world moves on quick. No one cares. The Palestinians have no allies in the Middle East anymore. The Saudis don't care. The Emirates don't care. The Egyptians don't care. Their traditional allies don't care. The Turks, they care. They removed, they recalled their ambassadors from Washington and from Israel. But that's all lip service because the Turks need the Israelis. They need their high-tech weaponry. They need all sorts of things. So nobody gives a damn about the Palestinians. They're screwed, basically. And as I'm on this theme, Israel, when is Saudi, this is the key here, and I'll actually, I'm going to go on to this because this is important. I saw Hanan Ashrawi, big, she's on the executive committee of the PLO and all that. She was on CNN today on Fareed Zakaria's show. She's in a Palestinian elite. She flies around in corporate jets, and I saw her in Toronto in the 90s. She loves herself way too much. Hanan Ashrawi, I wouldn't give her any credibility. The Palestinian Authority is totally corrupt, and Hanan Ashrawi is part of that whole corruption. It's very, very typical is sort of the third world elites, right? They fly around in corporate jets. They stay at the Ritz-Carlton. They don't give a damn. Hanan Ashrawi doesn't give a damn about the people. Like she jets around. She was in Toronto. She wanted to be treated like royalty when she was here in the 1990s. I never forget it. She didn't give a damn about all the people in the Palestinian diaspora that were working for the Palestinians. She just wanted to be treated like royalty. And she is one of the few people that gets on the U.S. talk shows. But she's so in love with herself. She's an intelligent person, no question. But she's part of the Palestinian elite who really doesn't give a damn about people on the street in Ramallah. And
well, if you're in a corporate jet, it's hard to think about people.
She flies around in corporate jets and hangs out with the Western elites. And she gives, and And, when people say the Palestinian Authority is corrupt, it totally is corrupt. She's a corrupted person, and very typical of what goes on in these national liberation movements, right? There's a lot of corruption, and she's part of it. So when I see her express outrage about Gaza, I thought, yeah, whatever. I met you in the 1990s. I know you expected a lot. You want to be in the best hotels, and yeah. The corruption in these national liberation movements is pretty pathetic, and Hanan Rashawi is part of it. So yes, the problem with the Palestinians, their leadership is totally corrupt. They love the best of life, and people are starting. Gaza is a humanitarian disaster. It's a prison camp. It's a terrible place. It's a disgrace. People are dying in Gaza, and they think Hanan Ashrawi really cares. She just wants to go to Paris and shop, and typical of the leadership of a lot of these national liberation movements. And so, yeah, when I saw her on CNN today, I thought, yeah, whatever, Hanan. You're a corrupt human being, and you just love going to Paris and doing your shopping, and you're just paying lip service to the cause, and as everyone else does. The Palestinians are screwed. They should just fight for civil rights and, like I said, a joint Israel and Palestine, one country. That's the solution. Ain't gonna happen in my lifetime, believe me. But nobody cares about them anymore. They're done. Nobody cares. They've lost all their allies. Okay, so that leads me into the whole thing with Saudi. Chris made a really good point. Our buddy Chris, we'll have on our show again. Saudi Israelia. That's the new country. Saudi Israelia. When is Saudi Arabia going to come out of the closet and say, we love Israel? And the Emirates too. And the Emirates, United Arab Emirates, and the Gulf states. Come out of the closet and say how much you love Israel, because you do. You need their intelligence, their security, cooperation. You need a lot from Israel. And you have one enemy, the supposed Iran, the evil of all. Oh my God, it's so pathetic. Saudi Israelia, one country. Saudi Arabia, come out of the closet. Express your love for Israel. Have full diplomatic relations. I mean, Jesus. Like, this is terrible. Like, you guys just love each other so much. And they're very similar. And the Saudis love to kill people. The Israelis love to kill people. They both hate Iran. They're very similar in many ways. Yes, I know Israel is a democracy in some ways, but it's only democracy for certain people. And Saudi Arabia isn't democracy for nobody. And I get it. If you're gay, obviously, Israel's not a bad place to live. If you live in Tel Aviv and along the coast. And of course, if you're gay in Saudi Arabia, you get killed. So I get it. There are differences. But on security and all sorts of things, and the hatred of Iran, and they're one country. So Saudi Arabia, please come out of the closet and marry Israel and call it Saudi Israelia.
Get a room.
Yeah, get a room, guys. Okay, I got some other notes here. I know we're going on a bit, but that's very important. And the New York Times today has a really interesting, the New York Times had a really interesting story today about how the Saudis and the Emiratis really wanted Trump to be president. Just like the Russians wanted Trump to be president, the Saudis and the Emiratis wanted to be president, the Israelis wanted Trump to be president. There is something interesting going on here. Like, the Saudis, of course, hated Hillary. Hey, she's a woman. And they hated Obama because Obama was somewhat critical of them. And the Israelis, of course, hated Obama. And yeah, there was a lot of the Saudis and the Emiratis say, yeah, we need Trump to be president. The Saudis and the Emiratis said, yes, Trump needs to be president. We need to get rid of this, guy Obama, and we certainly don't want this woman Hillary to be president. And they basically conspired with the Russians. And I'm not a big conspiracy thing, but it's coming out every day that all these people met with Trump officials. The Russians, the Saudis, the Emiratis, they did not want Hillary to be president. There's a lot of misogyny there too. They did not want a woman as president, and they did not want someone who might be critical of the fact they're all thugs and murderers. And not that Hillary was perfect by any means. We all got that. But yes, I think I'm glad Mueller's exploring this. The fact that there was a collusion between the Saudis, the Emiratis.
Well, collusion's not a crime.
And the Russians, they just did not want Hillary to be president. And they didn't like Obama, and they would love Trump because Trump is a strongman. And this is why Netanyahu, the Israelis, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is why Netanyahu is the strongman of the Middle East. because he's got everything going for him right now. He won on Jerusalem. He's got his embassy. The embassies are going to Jerusalem. The U.S. embassy and a few of these crazy Latin American countries are going to Jerusalem. He can murder Palestinians at will in Gaza, whatever, and nobody complains. Netanyahu, who's facing his own corruption charges, is riding high. He's like the strong man of the Middle East. And I think a lot of people look to the Israelis and say, wow, you can do whatever the hell you want and you get away with it? And it's interesting. There's a whole dynamic going on there. Erdogan from Turkey criticized what happened with Gaza and the move to Jerusalem, but it's all rhetoric because the Turks need the Israelis too. So it's just rhetoric. It's playing lip service. There's a whole dynamic going on there. And it's all, a lot of this, again, the isolation of Iran, which is bizarre and irrational, and because Iran is one of the few democratic countries in the Middle East and Central Asia. It straddles both. And there's a long story there. We've done it on previous YouTube videos. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. But I think basically between the Trump campaign, between the Saudis, the Gulf states, Egypt, they did not want Hillary as president. And clearly Russia didn't. Part of it's misogyny. They didn't want a woman president. Part of it was they didn't want people critical of human rights. And they hated Obama's policies. So we'll leave it at that. There's so much to say. The world is Trump is moving on. The summit with North Korea may or may not happen. But I think China's a very interesting player here. He's basically said, to North Korea, don't get played by Trump. Don't get played. The Chinese have put their foot down. It's because they have influence. And I said, you know what? We're getting screwed by the Americans on trade. I know they have reached, I think, some tentative agreements. But we're not going to let the Americans get away with this theatrical summit in Singapore. The Chinese have said to the North Koreans, don't get played by the Americans. And that's why this thing is kind of, we don't know what's going to happen or not going to happen. The Chinese have put their foot down, and good for them. They're saying to Kim Jong-un, don't get played by the Americans. And we'll see what happens. China has a lot of influence on that. Okay, I got to move on because I said 10 minutes, but there's so much to talk about because the world's such an interesting place.
Sometimes it can be.
Yeah, let's just go to domestic politics now. Let's go to international politics. I'm glad Trudeau had a strong statement on Gaza, by the way. That was good for him. Good for him. Pipelines, an ongoing debate. I'm good for Trudeau to stick to his guns on that one. British Columbia, come on. Get a grip. We need this done. The NDP, there's obviously a firefight with the NDP. Jagmeet Singh is the federal leader, is totally off the wall. He doesn't have any clue about anything. I was happy to see him as leader. I'm a honorary Calistani, but he doesn't seem to have. He's clueless, and so now he's basically said, no, forget about pipelines. He has no economic strategy, nothing. The NDP federally is just We need that one pipeline. Come on, guys, let's get that one done. He's basically Notley, the NDP premier of Alberta, said, screw you. Like, who the hell are you? Like, Jagmeet Singh has lost all credibility. The NDP federally has lost all credibility. Trudeau's got to get that pipeline through, and he's got to use all his constitutional authority to get it done. I don't think the NDP federally is going anywhere. I think they destroyed all their credibility, and so that brings me to the provincial election, where the NDP provincially is on the ascendancy. Hey, I think Andrea Horwath is a joke. The NDP, I was involved I worked for the NDP for 15 years as a volunteer.
But you're voting Liberal, and they have very similar
and
platforms.
My Liberal sign is in the window.
And there you have
My
it.
Liberal sign is in the window. I think Kathleen Wynne has done a good job in Ontario. She's economically and everything. There are scandals, and the scandals are there. I get it. But I think Kathleen Wynne has done a good job in Ontario. She's a strong leader. I always see her as Ontario's Hillary Clinton, and well, she's bested Hillary because she won a majority government as a gay woman. She, as a lesbian woman, she won a majority government. So she's already bested Hillary. She's broken 2 barriers. She doesn't. But I think she's done a great job, and the hatred towards her is bizarre. And I'm not going to say it's all misogyny, because if it was all misogyny, she wouldn't have won the government in the first place. And Andrea Horwath's poll numbers wouldn't be going up if Ontarians were so crazily anti-woman, they wouldn't be thinking of voting for Andrea Horwath. So I can't just play that into it. But why is she so disliked? She's such a nice person. She's done some good things. She's attracted a lot of high-tech jobs to Southern Ontario. She's out there. She's always open to the media. She's always chatting. The economy's in pretty good shape. Yeah, we have debts and deficits, but Ontario's, come on, it's a country. It's 14 million people. She's actually done a good job. She's updated the sex ed program in the schools, which is very important, against a lot of opposition. And she also, the infrastructure programs, we've put a lot of money into transit. We've seen it. The infrastructure programs are going forth. She's done everything that she could. The green energy thing went off the rails, but that's because of NIMBYism and stupidity in rural parts of this province. And there's nothing that she could have done about that. So I could go on and on and on. And this video has gone on and on. There are probably points I wanted to forget, but I like doing these YouTube videos. I want to, I do want to make people think about what's going on in the world. And, I was saying to Clea, there's so many forgotten countries in the world today. Clea and I were just watching Anthony Bourdain's great show, and we were watching about Armenia. And Armenia is a very interesting society, transforming society. A lot of high tech in Armenia, a lot of expats coming back from the U.S. and Canada to Armenia. But then there's Venezuela, a country that's just become a shithole, basically. Thanks to Maduro and Hugo Chavez. Everyone on the left love those guys. They destroyed that country. 13,000% inflation. 1 million people have left Venezuela. This is one of the wealthiest countries in the world with its natural resources. And Hugo Chavez and Maduro, they destroyed it. The lefties, right, that everyone on the left loves, they destroyed it. It's one of the wealthiest countries on the planet Earth, with more oil reserves than you can imagine. And people are starving. There are operating rooms in Caracas hospitals that have blood on them because there's not even any way to swipe the blood off. They have no water. The place is a disgrace, and it's due to these weird, socialist policies that Maduro and Chavez instituted. They destroyed that country. I'm sorry. They destroyed it. And all the lefties say, no, it's the Americans and this and that. Yeah, sorry. I think the Castro brothers didn't destroy Cuba, by the way. They actually did some really good things in Cuba. But Cuba could have been a better place, okay? People get caught up in these stupid ideologies, and I'm sorry. You just need to do what's right for people. And corruption, as I was saying about Hanan Ashrawi and the Palestinian Authority, the corruption in Venezuela. Sorry, you have your ideology, but sometimes you have to just look at the facts.
Strong government is good, but not too good.
Yeah, exactly. We need good government. And don't get caught up in all these ideologies of third world liberation and all that shit, because you know what? A lot of it ain't going to happen. Saw that in Palestine. Don't get me wrong, Palestinians never had a chance. The world was always against them. But in Venezuela, yeah, these guys are corrupt and they're thugs and they need to be taken out. But what's going on in Venezuela is disgraceful. And I know the left think, oh my God, no, they're heroes. Chavez and Maduro are heroes. They're lefty heroes. But I remember in Nicaragua, look at Ortega was a lefty hero, and he turned out to be a thug and a disgraceful human being. So, anyways, on that note, don't let ideology. Hopefully, we'll do another video before the Ontario election. Remember, look at the policies of all these parties. Ford has no policies. He has no real policies, no realistic policies. So, what could happen in Ontario, I have no problem with Andrew Horwath. Could be 1990 scenario, you know? Didn't want 1990. Ontarians didn't want the Conservatives back in power. They were tired of the corrupt Peterson Liberals. And they went for Bob Rae. And Bob Rae actually ran a pretty good government. And he handed a pretty good government to Mike Harris. So this could happen. The NDP could just come out of the blue and win that election, just like in 1990. Anyways, I've rambled. I'm sorry. That went on way too long. But I think I made you guys think about some things. Bye.